Heartwarming dinner turns life-changing. Text reveals hidden danger, leave now, without a word. Rachel stood in the modest kitchen of her cozy home, the warmth of the oven hugging her like a long-lost embrace. The aroma of seasoned chicken filled the air, mingling with tender memories as her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, hummed a playful tune while setting the table. Tonight was significant. It was a chance to patch the rift with the man who had been absent most of her life, her father. Dressed in her best sweater and the softest jeans, Rachel felt a flutter of anxiety mixed with hope. Could this dinner finally bridge the gap? As the clock ticked down, the doorbell rang. Rachel's heart raced. Memories of her father loomed large. The Vietnam veteran had returned home, a shadow of the man he once was. She opened the door to reveal a man whose weary eyes were glazed, like the clouds that often subtly rolled across the Colorado sky. They exchanged brief, stiff hellos. The evening began with forced smiles and strained topics, each word hanging heavily between them. Rachel's fingers trembled slightly as she served the meal, but when Lily chimed in with a funny story about her school trip, laughter peeled through the air like sunlight breaking through clouds. Glimmers of warmth and humanity shone through their awkward interactions, making Rachel's heart swell with a flicker of connection. "Remember when you two sneaked out camping that one summer?" she asked, her voice bubbling with nostalgia. It elicited a chuckle, breaking the ice just a little more. But just as Rachel felt hope blooming, her phone buzzed insistently on the table. Glancing at the screen, her stomach dropped. It was a frantic message from her neighbor warning about a creep spotted loitering around their street, someone targeting families. Panic seized Rachel's heart, knitting her brows together with fear. The warmth of nostalgia was quickly eclipsed by the dread rushing through her veins like ice. "Lily, honey," Rachel forced out, trying to sound calm, "finish your breakfast." But her heart was pounding too hard for her to keep her voice steady. Her father's gaze sharpened with concern, but his own past struggles began to surface. "What's wrong?" he asked, tension rising like storm clouds anew. Just a situation," Rachel replied, her voice strained. She watched Lily, oblivious, a tender innocence shining in her bright eyes. She had to protect her. Instinctively, Rachel realized she needed to choose. Would she stay engaged with her father's struggle for emotional connection, or distance herself to focus on Lily's safety? Her heart raced as emotions warred within her. "Dad, we can talk later," she said, voice quaking. "I need to check on something." That's when her father's anger flared, his bitterness resurfacing like a volcano ready to erupt. Running away again. The accusation cracked the air, trapping Rachel in a moment of profound struggle. She inhaled deeply and prepared to confront the storm. "Stop," she called out, her voice igniting with fierce resolve. "You can't keep hiding. I need you to face your pain, to be part of our lives, to support us." For Lily, tension crackled as emotions flew. In that charged atmosphere, Rachel revealed her own heart, her sleepless nights, and the weight of the world she bore on her shoulders. She saw a flicker of vulnerability beneath her father's hardened exterior, but outside, a shattering noise split the silence, glass breaking. Her eyes widened, panic shooting through her. The night was far from over, and as darkness crept in, she sensed the stakes rising higher. Could they face this danger together? Or would the past shatter any hope for unity? The room held its breath, emotions poised at the edge of a knife, vulnerable yet fierce. Rachel's heart raced as the sound of shattering glass echoed ominously through the house. It was as if time had slowed, and every detail sharpened into perfect clarity: the flickering candlelight, the way her father's hands crumpled against the table, the frightened look in Lily's eyes. "Stay here," Rachel commanded, her voice firm, though her insides churned with worry. She glanced at the door, contemplating the impending danger lurking outside. "Mom, what is happening?" Lily's voice trembled, her little hands gripping the edges of her chair. "Just a little noise, sweetheart. I'll take care of it," Rachel replied, though her own breathing felt heavy and laborious. As she moved towards the kitchen doorway, every instinct in her screamed for her to flee with Lily, to hide away until whatever threat had passed. But the conversation with her father loomed heavily on her conscience. He was still here, in a way, and maybe he needed her just as much as she needed him. "Stay with Lily," she whispered, looking back at her father. He nodded, The worry etched across his features, mixing with an urge to protect his daughter and granddaughter, an instinct that perhaps still flickered beneath his feelings of hurt and abandon. The chaos outside grew louder, punctuated by faint male voices. Rachel's gut twisted. She peered through the window, her breath catching in her throat. There was a group of figures, shrouded in shadows and cloaked by the night. She could barely make them out, but the tension was palpable. It felt like a prelude to something sinister. Without overthinking, Rachel grabbed the kitchen knife, its cold handle steadying her nerves. Clutching it with one hand, she turned back to her father. "We can't wait here," she said. "We need to check it out together." He looked taken aback, a mixture of fear and disbelief crossing his face. "What if it's dangerous?" he protested. "I don't care." Rachel shot back, her voice ignited with fierce determination. "I'm not putting Lily at risk. Not again. We have to confront this. Let me know. You need to support us. You need to be with us." Her words seemed to pull at the thread of something buried deep within him. For the first time, she saw a glimmer of that protective father figure she had missed for so long. He inhaled sharply, straightening his back. "You're right. Let us go together." Together, they crept towards the front door, each step heavy with unspoken fears and unresolved pasts. Rachel tightened her grip on the knife, and her heart pounded like a drum. As they reached the door, a sudden crash broke through the air, a loud bang followed by frantic laughter that echoed against the walls. Rachel opened the door just a crack, peering outside. "What the hell?" she muttered under her breath. That's when she noticed the source of the chaos. A group of teenagers were gathered just outside her yard, tossing what looked like empty bottles, serenaded by raucous laughter. Relief flooded her, but irritation simmered just beneath the surface. She was ready to yell at them, but stopped herself, taking a moment to breathe. "Just kids," she whispered, half to herself. "Are you okay?" her father asked, genuine concern flickering in his tired eyes. "Yeah, I think so." But moments later, before she could act on her irritation, a different sound caught her attention, something deeper, more sinister lurking in the shadows. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying an unease that tightened Rachel's stomach once again. "Let us not lower our guard," she muttered, moving back inside. The laughter from outside faded into a dull hum, but the mood inside felt charged, almost electric, a fragile truce forming around shared fears and past hurts. "Are we okay?" Lily asked, her small hands now gripping her mother's arm. "Yeah, we're okay, sweetie," Rachel said softly, kneeling down to meet her daughter's gaze. "But we need to stay alert. We need to be a team tonight." Her father nodded, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "You got this, Rachel," he said quietly, a rare sincerity in his voice. But even in that moment, as the past began to weave back into their present, a chill ran down Rachel's spine. The quiet outside felt almost too still. What if tonight was only the beginning? What if danger was just waiting in the shadows, ready to strike when they least expected it? As uncertainty gripped her heart, Rachel knew they were still unprepared for what was coming. And that awareness sparked a new determination in her. This time, they would face it together. Can families truly heal amidst chaos? Rachel wondered as she looked around at the uncertain faces in their small sanctuary. She couldn't shake the feeling that more than just their past was at stake. What lay ahead might change everything once again. Rachel's breath felt shallow as she tried to shake off the last remnants of fear. The laughter of the teenagers outside was now muted, a distant memory compared to the tension that gripped her. Her heart still raced, but she knew the conversation needed to shift. Above all else, keeping Lily safe was her priority. "Dad," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. "What were you going to tell me earlier? You mentioned something important." Her father's brow furrowed, and he shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know if now's the best time," he stalled, glancing back toward the door. "It needs to be said. Whatever it is, it can't stay buried." Rachel held his gaze, pulling strength from his features, drawn taut with concern. She needed him to understand that this was a moment of truth, a moment they might not get again. A flicker of resolve crossed his face, and he nodded, steering them toward the kitchen table where they could talk without distractions. Lily followed closely, sensing the shift in their mood, her small fingers still gripping her mother's arm. "Earlier, before everything went crazy, I wanted to tell you," he hesitated, and Rachel's heart dropped. "I found something. Something related to, well, Your mother. Rachel's stomach twisted. What do you mean? She pressed. I didn't want to bring it up when we were talking about the past. But I found an old letter addressed to you, Rachel. From her. His hands shook slightly as he pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. Time stopped. Rachel felt the emotional weight of the moment crush in around her as he unfolded the letter, the air electric with expectation. Why didn't you tell me before? Rachel asked, her voice thick. After everything that's happened, why wait? I didn't know how to approach it, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Everything has been so broken, and I thought it would only hurt more. With shaking hands, Rachel reached out for the letter. The faded ink and familiar handwriting seemed to pulse with life. What does it say? Lily asked, wide-eyed and innocent, not fully understanding. Let us just read it together, Rachel said, settling into a chair, her stomach churning with a mix of excitement and dread. Her father took a breath, clearing his throat as he began to read the words that felt like they had traveled through time. My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. Each word struck her like an emotional knife. As he continued, the words blended into a poignant reminder of the love she had lost, yet desperately craved. I wanted you to know that the circumstances of my leaving were not your fault. Tears pricked Rachel's eyes. She hadn't realized how much she needed this reassurance, how desperately she had sought closure. But before her father could finish, the atmosphere outside shifted once again. The laughter grew frenzied, and a loud crash echoed from the street. All three of them froze, adrenaline rushing back in a shocking wave. What was that? Lily's voice was nervous, her small body inching closer to Rachel. I don't know, Rachel whispered, feeling the unease crawl back up her spine. But it can't be good. The letter still hovered in the air, its revelations temporarily set aside as instinct kicked in. Rachel locked eyes with her father, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Let us check it out, Rachel said, determination rising once more. Just as they were about to move, her father's phone buzzed wildly on the table, drawing their attention. It was a message. Warning, leave now without a word. You're being watched. The room felt like it was closing in around them. Who sent that? Rachel demanded, her heart racing. Her father's face drained of color, and as he looked at her, she saw confusion and fear reflected back. I don't know. Rachel's mind raced with implications. What were they facing? What if danger lay closer than they thought? A storm was brewing around them, and they needed to act. Together, we can figure this out, she said firmly, locking the letter away in her mind for the moment. But we have to move quickly. Now, as they ventured towards the door, each step heavy with the weight of what lay ahead, Rachel knew this was no longer just about healing their family. They were now in a fight for their safety, their lives. What secrets could possibly lead them into a fate they couldn't escape? Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that the night had only just begun. As they stepped out into the dim light of the street, Rachel immediately felt the weight of the cold night air pressing against her skin. The laughter that had once echoed around them now morphed into a cacophony of chaos. It was as though the once familiar neighborhood had transformed into a scene from a nightmare. She glanced down the street where shadows danced, illuminated by the flickering streetlights. Stay close, Rachel urged, her instinct taking over. She placed a protective arm around Lily, feeling her daughter's small frame tremble against her. Mom, what is happening? Lily's voice was small, frightened, and it broke Rachel's heart. It's okay, honey. We're going to figure this out together, Rachel promised, forcing her voice to sound steady despite the pounding in her chest. Her father moved with purpose beside her, but the urgency in his stride was diluted by the look of dread etched on his face. We need to get to the car, he stated, glancing nervously toward the alley that loomed ominously to their right. Do you think whoever sent that message is really watching us? Rachel's mind raced with questions, each one more chilling than the last. I hope it's not true, he replied, his voice low. But we can't take chances. They hurried towards the driveway. Every sound magnified the rustling leaves, distant shouting, and the screech of tires. The scene felt surreal, like a movie that raced ahead, leaving them in the dust. As they reached the car, Rachel's heart sank. The driver's side door hung open slightly. The passenger seat reclined unnaturally. Did someone break in? She whispered, fear gripping her throat. I think so, her father stammered, shooting a worried glance back towards the house. We need to leave. Now. Before they could climb into the car, a sudden flash caught Rachel's eye. In the shadows, a figure emerged, moving too quickly to be anything but ominous. Get in, she shouted, her instincts screaming at her. They scrambled into the car, and Rachel fumbled with the keys, her fingers shaking. Her heart pounded as she turned the ignition. The engine sputtered before roaring to life, but moments felt like eternity. Go, go, her father urged as the footsteps grew louder behind them. Hold on tight, Rachel shouted, throwing the car into gear. She slammed the gas pedal, tires spinning for a second before the car shot forward. The engine roared as they tore down the street, leaving chaos behind. Lily sat silent in the back seat, a small bundle of fear and confusion. Mom, where are we going? Rachel met her father's panicked gaze in the rearview mirror. Somewhere safe, she replied, forcing a comforting smile despite the dread that twisted in her gut. With each turn they took, the shadows seemed to stalk them, each dark corner filled with potential danger. What if they find us? Her father asked, his voice trembling. I don't know, Rachel breathed, gripping the steering wheel, her knuckles white. What did that letter say? He pressed, as if somehow the answer lay within its cryptic folds. Rachel's heart raced. I can't think about that now, she snapped, scared at the revelation of how intertwined their fates were. There was so much they didn't know, and yet they had just scratched the surface. As they turned down a deserted road, her heart thudded in a steady rhythm, a flicker of hope rising through the haze of fear. Maybe we can find another way. I remember Mom saying something about stop. Her father interrupted sharply. Don't you say another word. We can't risk it. Rachel felt her heart drop. Why was he stopping her? She turned to look at him, but the severity in his eyes silenced any questions that bubbled beneath the surface. Trust me, he said, his voice a mere whisper of desperation. With a deep breath, Rachel steadied herself for what lay ahead. Tension filled the car, thick and suffocating, and just when she thought it couldn't get worse, a guttural sound echoed behind them, a distant alarm mixed with a shout. What is happening? Lily cried, panic seeping into her voice. As they rounded another corner, something big and dark loomed ahead, an obstacle in their path that felt insurmountable. Rachel's chest tightened. I don't know if we can go back, she said, her voice trembling as she faced the unknown. The shadowy figure they'd caught in their rear view seemed to disappear into the night, but something deeper was still coming for them. Would they escape without confronting the truth of their past? Rachel found herself praying the answer wasn't hidden behind the shadows of the night, because there was no turning back now. The headlights of the car illuminated the massive figure ahead, revealing a fallen tree sprawled across the road, branches twisted like claws reaching for them. Rachel slammed the brakes, bringing the vehicle to a screeching halt just inches from the trunk. What now? She gasped, panic surging as she glanced at her father. Think. We can't stay here, he urged, glancing nervously through the windshield. The distant sounds of chaos echoed in the night, reminding them that danger wasn't too far away. I'll reverse, Rachel said, already shifting into gear. The thought of turning around made her stomach churn, but there was no alternative. Just as she was about to accelerate back, a surge of headlights flooded their rear-view mirror. Another vehicle emerged from the darkness, gliding toward them with a determination that made her heart race. Stay down, her father commanded, his voice edged with urgency. They all crouched low, and Rachel's fingers trembled on the steering wheel. Would they literally be run off the road? The car drew nearer, slowing, and Rachel squinted to see through the darkness. It looked like an SUV, but she couldn't decipher the driver's intent. A sense of helplessness washed over her. Just then, the vehicle came to a halt beside them, and the driver's door swung open. Rachel. A familiar voice shattered the tension, one she never expected to hear again. Get out. Now, Alan, she whispered. Shock buzzed through her, and her heart skipped. It was her brother, the last person she expected in this moment of crisis. And yet, here he was, as if he had materialized from the shadows. Rachel quickly exchanged glances with her father, who was both skeptical and relieved. Mom told me everything. I figured it was only a matter of time before you'd need my help, Alan said, urgency lacing his voice. No, it's too dangerous, Rachel argued, glancing back at Lily, who was wide-eyed and confused. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you. Trust me, please. We need to get out before they find us. His eyes darted toward the distant sound of sirens. With her heart pounding like thunder, Rachel bit her lip and turned to her daughter. Lily, we have to go with Uncle Alan, okay? Just hold my hand. Lily didn't respond, but Rachel felt her little grip tighten around hers. She could see the fear in her daughter's eyes reflected in the panic that gripped her own heart. Let us hurry, Alan urged, his voice a mixture of hope and desperation. Rachel nodded, pushing the fear down. If anyone could help them navigate this nightmare, it was him. As they ducked out of the car and toward Alan's SUV, the loud wails of sirens grew nearer. Every step felt like they were racing against time, and the world around them blurred. Rachel caught a glimpse of the chaos they'd left behind, neighbors pouring from their homes, faces twisted in confusion, pointing in their direction. They piled into the SUV, and Alan took off without a word, the tires screeching against the pavement. The urgency of the situation settled in the back seat like a weight. Rachel felt torn between relief and anxiety. Did she really trust her brother? Where are we going? She finally managed, trying to quell the storm of questions brewing in her mind. Somewhere safe. But first Alan glanced back, dark concern etched on his face. We need to talk. Rachel's heart sank at the gravity of his tone. About what? About the message, and why you were really targeted. A chill ran through her as she realized they were about to confront the truth that had haunted their family for years. The terror that filled the air felt tangible, clinging to them like fog. They were racing into the unknown, each mile a step deeper into shadows she hoped to never revisit. But as the adrenaline coursed through her veins, the flickering streetlights passed like memories forgotten, and one thought echoed louder than the rest: could revealing the truth save them, or would it destroy everything? Lily's small voice broke through the tension. Mom, what's wrong? Rachel glanced at her daughter, pain twisting in her chest. I don't know, honey, she murmured, bracing for the storm that lay ahead, knowing their lives would never be the same again. Alan's knuckles whitened on the wheel as he veered into a narrow side road, the tires kicking up gravel. Rachel watched the familiar scenery morph into an unrecognizable blur. Dark branches clawed at the edges of the road, shrouded in night like secrets waiting to be uncovered. Where are we? Rachel asked, trying to mask the quaver in her voice. Just a shortcut to the old hunting lodge, Alan replied, not looking at her. I know it's been years, but it's south the safest place I could think of. Lily's grip tightened, and Rachel instinctively pulled her closer. The SUV felt both like a shield and a prison, and the tension within it bore down on them. Alan's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, scanning for any signs of pursuit. Listen, Ratch, there's something I need you to understand. What is it, Alan? Her stomach seized. Just tell me. I've been looking into what happened the night you got that message years ago. You should believe me back then, he said, his voice low but straining with urgency. It wasn't random. They've been watching you. The mention of the message struck her like a physical blow. The contents, hidden away for so long, began to unravel in her mind. What do you mean? They? Alan took a deep breath, the weight of years hanging between them. I think it has to do with Mom. She knew something she always did. I thought it was just paranoia, but now his voice trailed off, filled with dread. Rachel shook her head. No, Mom was she was worried. It was just not just. Ratch, I found things. Old files, documents. There's more to our past than we realized. He paused, glancing back at Lily. And it's dangerous. You have to believe me. The reality of his words settled heavily in the air around them. You mean they're after us because of something Mom knew? It's connected, I swear. Alan's voice cracked, revealing the raw edge of fear he held back. And they won't stop until they find what they're looking for. Rachel felt her pulse quicken. Her mind swirled with questions. Why hadn't their mother ever told them? And why had she just let it fade into the background of their lives? Mom said she was being careful, Rachel murmured, her thoughts racing. But she never told me anything that could hurt us. Alan glanced back, as if searching for an answer in her eyes. She was trying to protect you, but it's only going to get worse. We need to figure out what it is before they do, or we're going to find ourselves right in the middle of it. Silence erupted in the car, each heartbeat echoing within them like a clock counting down. Lily's innocent voice broke the tension again. Are we running away? Where's Grandma? Rachel swallowed hard, emotions flooding her. We're going to be okay, sweetie, but her words felt hollow. They hit a bump in the road, and Alan steadied the SUV. We need to keep moving, he urged, determination replacing some of his fear. I know a place we can stay for a few days, just until we figure this out. Do you have a plan? Rachel asked, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and hope. Sort of, but we need to get away from here first and find out what Mom was trying to hide. Rachel's heart raced as they drove deeper into the woods. The dark canopy loomed above them, blotting out the stars. Something inside her twisted with the realization that they were unearthed from the mundane into a tale woven with danger and secrets. The road turned sharply ahead, and through the darkness, a flash of light caught her eye. It flickered momentarily before vanishing. Her breath caught. What was that? Did you see that? She murmured, dread creeping back into her bones. Alan slowed, peering into the shadows. What? What did you see? I don't know. A cold grip of unease settled in her stomach. But it felt wrong. Alan's hands tensed on the steering wheel, his pulse quickening. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the trees, followed by rustling that sent chills racing down Rachel's spine. We have to get out of here, she shouted, panic swelling. Just then, another light flashed, illuminating something in the woods. Something that shooed. TB there. What is it? Lily whispered, terror lining her innocent tone. Rachel's heart thudded in her chest. They were not just running from danger. They were stumbling headfirst into it, unaware of the horrors that awaited them just beyond the trees, and she couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Alan's heart raced as he scanned the tree line, his mind racing through possibilities. What had they just stumbled upon? Stay down, he barked, instinctively reaching for the glove compartment, where he kept a flashlight. Lily's small frame curled against Rachel, clutching tightly to her mother's arm. Mom, I'm scared. Her voice trembled. Rachel's heart twisted with conflicting emotions. She hated that Lily had to feel this fear. I know, sweetheart. Just trust us, she whispered, trying to sound steady. Alan flicked the flashlight on, the beam slicing through the darkness like a knife. He peered out the window, the shadows dancing as the light hit the trees. I think we need to keep moving, he muttered, his voice taut with an urgency he couldn't quite suppress. Wait, what about? Rachel started to protest, but Alan's eyes widened as another light flickered in the distance. It was brighter this time, steady and unervingly close. Move, he shouted, slamming his foot on the accelerator. The SUV surged forward, tires spinning against gravel as they barreled down the road. Lily whimpered, what is happening? We'll explain everything later, Rachel promised, her own heart pounding in her chest. Turning to Alan, she saw tension etched into his face. You think they're really after us? I don't know, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that we don't stick around to find out. This is too important. His eyes stayed glued to the road, but Rachel could see the flicker of something: fear, urgency, and the aching weight of responsibility. As they sped away, the trees blurred into streaks of shadow, like the memories of their childhood home transformed into something sinister. Rachel's mind flitted back to the old hunting lodge, the place where they used to play games and tell ghost stories, back when life felt safe and simple. Was it really a refuge now, or just another trap? Where's the lodge? Rachel asked, urgency cutting through her thoughts. Just a few more miles ahead, Alan replied, clenching the wheel tightly. It's not far. I swear we'll be safe there. And just like that, she teetered on a precipice of anxiety. What if it wasn't really safe? What if all of this had been one huge mistake? But she couldn't let doubt cloud her thoughts now, not when Lily needed her to be strong. Can you tell me what you found in those files? Rachel asked, her voice steadying. What exactly are we up against? Alan hesitated, the tension in the cabin palpable, but he took a deep breath. I found records, names, and dates connected to Mom. People who might have been in her life before she had us, things that didn't make sense. I thought it was just family drama. His voice quivered. But when I connected the dots, I realized it was bigger than us. Rachel's stomach churned. Bigger how? I think they're part of something dark and twisted. Alan hesitated, then continued. They search for things. Information that I think Mom might known. That knowledge could endanger all of us. The thought was suffocating. Rachel struggled to process the implications while also keeping her daughter calm. We'll handle it, she whispered, though she wasn't as sure as she sounded. Lily pulled a stuffed bunny from her backpack, hugging it tightly. Will Grandma be safe? Rachel bit her lip. Yes, sweetie. We're just making sure everyone is safe. Alan turned sharply onto a narrower path, an unpaved road barely visible in the dark. Almost there, he assured, the tremor in his voice laced with determination. But just then, a shadow broke from the trees along the roadside, darting in front of them like a wraith. Alan slammed on the brakes, tires screeching, the SUV swerving dangerously. Alan! Rachel gasped, bracing herself against the dashboard. Heart pounding, Rachel squinted into the outside darkness, but saw nothing. What was that? I have no idea. Alan's voice shook. But we can't stay here. And just as the panic twisted inside her, another flash lit up the woods. This time, it wasn't just light. It was a figure. Someone or something moving towards them. Cold dread settled in Rachel's chest. What had they uncovered? Drive, she urged, but in the pit of her stomach, she felt a pulse of something deeper. It was now or never. They had to confront the storm they were racing towards as Alan shifted the SUV into gear. Rachel's heart thudded to the rhythm of an impending clash. Would they escape, or were they racing deeper into a nightmare? Questions raced wildly through her mind, but one stood out above the rest. What exactly had their mother tried to warn them about? And as that flickering light drew nearer, Rachel knew the time for answers was at hand. Alan's hands gripped the steering wheel like it was the last lifeline in a sinking boat. He pressed the gas pedal harder, the engine roaring defiantly against the quiet wilderness that seemed to close in around them. Trees whipped past, a blur of black and green as they rocketed forward, each second stretching into eternity. Don't look back, he told Rachel, catching her gaze in the rearview mirror. There was too much fear in her eyes, a fear he shared but wouldn't voice. Just focus on the lodge. Lily's whimpers filled the car, a haunting melody of a child too young to carry such heavy anxiety. What if they catch us, Mommy? We won't let that happen, Rachel assured, though her voice trembled just slightly. We'll be fine, Lily. Just keep your eyes closed, all right? The weight of familiar woods surrounded them, ghostly branches reaching out, almost as if they were trying to draw them back into the dark past they were desperate to escape. Rachel felt a chill as the memory of countless trips to the lodge flashed through her mind, the cozy fires, the laughter echoing in the walls. But now, those memories twisted in her heart as shadows loomed. Alan, can you explain more about what you found? The names, the dates? Rachel was desperate for clarity, something to anchor her swirling thoughts. Alan glanced at her, his expression conflicted. I don't know everything, but it looks like Mom was involved with some kind of organization. They kept tabs on families, tracking them, using them. It could be a cult or something more sinister. Cult? Rachel echoed, disbelief ripping through her. What do they want with us? Why now? Maybe they think we have something they're looking for. His voice was strained, struggling against the weight of revelation. Another flash of light illuminated the trees, followed by the unmistakable thud of footsteps behind them, a pounding rhythm that matched the heartbeat of their growing panic. Just drive, she urged again, feeling a cold knot tighten in her stomach as the distant figure moved closer. Lily squeezed her bunny tighter, tears spilling onto her cheeks. Rachel reached back instinctively, brushing her finger over her daughter's arm, a silent promise mixed with her own rising fear. Hold on, we're almost there, Alan replied, determination fueling his words even as uncertainty shrouded them. But was it determination or desperation? As they raced down the path, the lodge came into view, a small wooden structure silhouetted against the moonlight like a beacon amidst the chaos. Relief washed over Rachel. They were so close. But Alan's breath was still shaky, each inhale laden with doubt. Just a little further, he muttered, eyes darting between the road and the looming darkness behind. But as they approached the entrance, something flickered in the rearview mirror, a large shadow trailing them, darting across the tree line with supernatural speed. That thing is following us. Alan's voice cracked, his helplessness seeping into the words. Before Rachel could respond, something heavy crashed into the back of the SUV, sending them jolting forward. Mom! Lily screamed. Rachel turned to see a figure rush past the headlight's beam, the outline shifting like smoke. Go! Now! She shouted, fear igniting a primal instinct within her. Alan shifted the vehicle into the gravel parking area, spinning to a stop. They were finally there, but was it sanctuary or a trap? He turned off the engine, silence descending over them like a heavy shroud. Alan and Rachel exchanged a glance, the weight of their choices pressing down on their shoulders. "Get out," he said after hesitating a beat. "We need to find a way inside, quickly." As they piled out, shivers of dread coursed through Rachel. Had they really come to a safe place? Or were they stepping into something much darker? "Mommy, I don't like this." Lily clung to Rachel's skirt, looking up with wide, fearful eyes that mirrored Rachel's own trepidation. "All right, let us stick together," Rachel soothed, forcing herself to sound calm. But what if the place that once felt like home was hiding? Secrets more terrifying than anything lurking outside. As they huddled close, the shadows seemed to thicken, and the night whispered secrets she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. And then, just behind them, a low, chilling laugh echoed through the trees. Rachel turned sharply, dread coiling tighter in her gut. What was waiting for them in the darkness of the lodge? Would they really find the answers they sought, or make everything worse? The chill of the night air wrapped around Rachel and her family like a suffocating blanket. She could still hear that laugh, echoing in her ears, and every instinct screamed for them to run. But they had nowhere to hide, nowhere to escape. The lodge stood before them, a flickering light glimmered through the grimy windows, beckoning like an old friend. "Come on, let us go inside," Alan urged, throwing a cautious glance down the dark path behind them. He started toward the front door, but Rachel hesitated, glancing back in uncertainty. The haunting laugh had died down, but a new sound, a low rustle in the bushes, made her heart race. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, her small hand gripping Rachel's tightly. "I know, sweetheart," Rachel whispered, kneeling to Lily's level. "But we need to be brave right now. We're together, and together we can face anything." Her voice felt like a fragile shield against the darkness surrounding them. "Okay," Lily nodded slowly, though her eyes expressed doubt. Alan pushed open the lodge door, creaking like a ghost awakening from a long slumber. The interior was dimly lit, the musty scent of forgotten memories brushing against Rachel's senses. Dust motes danced in the beams of light, making the air feel alive, yet eerie. They stepped inside, each footfall echoing in the quiet space as Alan called out, "Hello, is anyone here?" Silence answered with a weight that pressed against them. The walls, once vibrant with joy and laughter, felt heavy, laden with secrets. "Shouldn't we check the windows?" Rachel suggested, her heart pounding. "Maybe we can barricade them." Alan nodded. "Yeah, let us make sure we lock everything down first." He moved cautiously toward the windows, testing each lock with anxious fingers. Rachel wandered deeper into the lodge. The old living room was just as she remembered, worn furniture, an ancient fireplace, and photographs on the walls capturing moments that felt like another life. But the joy seemed muted now, shadows creeping in where once there had been smiles. "Rachel, over here," Alan called from the kitchen, urgency in his voice. She hurried back to find him standing in front of a dusty old cabinet. "What is it?" she asked, breathless. "Look." He pulled the cabinet door open, revealing a hidden compartment that had been sealed for years. Inside was a stack of aged documents, yellowed with time. With a tremor, Alan pulled one out, holding it up for them to see. "It's a ledger. It has names, data." He paused, squinting at it, panic flooding his features. "These aren't just random names." Rachel leaned closer, her breath catching as a name jumped out at hers. She felt the ground shift beneath her, every memory, every visit to this lodge falling into place like pieces of a puzzle. "What does it mean? Why is our name here?" Her voice trembled, disbelief rendering her momentarily numb. "We need to find out," Alan replied, but his conviction faltered as a loud crash echoed from the back of the lodge, shattering the tense silence. "Alan!" Rachel's voice pierced through the sudden fear, and they both turned toward the noise, hearts racing. In the depths of the lodge, something stirred. Old memories and dark secrets were unveiling right before them. "Stay close," Alan said, grabbing Lily's hand with a shaky grip as they moved cautiously toward the sound, the weight of fear heavy on their shoulders. What awaited them in those shadows? Would unraveling these secrets protect them, or place them in even greater danger? And just then, the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness, leaving only the echo of their heavy breathing and the terrible thrill of unknown terror lingering in the air. What emerged from the dark could change everything. Alan's heart raced as he grasped Lily's hand tightly, his fingers trembling against the little warmth. Rachel moved closer, instinctively enclosing them in a protective bubble as the darkness bore down on them like a weight. The flickering lights left shadows dancing on the walls. Shapes flickered in and out of existence. What was that noise? Rachel whispered, her voice taut with fear. Let us check it out, Alan said, trying to inject some bravado into the moment even as dread coiled in his stomach. It was time to confront whatever pulse of danger was nestled in the familiar shadows of their childhood. With tentative steps, they followed the path toward the source of the crashing noise that had stirred the silence of the lodge. A heavy feeling clenched in their chests with every creak of the floorboards. We should stick together, Rachel said, her eyes scanning the room, the darkness quickly swallowing what little light they had. Right. It's safer that way, Alan responded, the resolve in his voice reminding them that they were not only family, but a team, ready to face the unknown. The sound had come from the back kitchen area, where years of accumulated dust painted everything in layers of fear and silence. The very air felt thick with uncertainty. They entered the kitchen, a space once filled with the warmth of cooking and laughter, now seemingly hollow. The table was set as if they had just stepped off a ghostly family gathering, but the intrusion of an evil presence sent shivers down their spines. I'll check the cabinets, Alan whispered, fingers brushing the edges of the wood. As he pulled one open, another noise echoed, a whispering, fluttering sound. Rachel turned sharply to see a humongous shadow sweep through the opposite doorway. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but the weight of the moment froze her with fear. What was that? She gasped. I don't know, Alan replied, his voice low, but the urgency crackling beneath it sent a shudder through Rachel. But we need to find out. Mommy, I want to go home, Lily cried, her voice quaking with fear. I know, sweetie, but we might need to find something here, Rachel soothed as she knelt to meet her daughter's frightened gaze. But we're safe, I promise. The words felt stale on her tongue, but she forged on. Remember, we're together. Alan continued his search as deeper shadows loomed, drifting just out of reach like memories yearning to be unearthed. The tension felt almost suffocating, each moment stretching into eternity. Suddenly, from behind the old refrigerator, another loud crash jolted Rachel. Get back, she shouted. She grabbed Lily and pulled her close, desperately trying to shield her from whatever terror lurked behind the kitchen's decaying walls. Alan stepped forward, eyes ablaze with determination. Whoever's there, we're not afraid, he yelled, voice steady. The shadows stirred, shifting heavily. Please, let us just talk. Rachel's plea suffocated under the weight of the thickening air. The shadows coalesced. Then a figure stepped forward, draped in darkness. A face emerged, thin, gaunt, but familiar. Rachel gasped as recognition crashed over her like cold water. Uncle Mark? She breathed, disbelief swirling in her chest. Her heart raced. This was the uncle they had lost touch with, the family member wrapped in darkness and rumors that had haunted their childhood. Rachel Allen, he said, an unsettling mix of relief and warning twisted through his voice. You shouldn't have come here. Why? Who's after us? Allen demanded, confusion and anger flaring in equal measure. Why didn't you warn us? Are you part of this? Mark's gaze flickered downward, grappling with a world of guilt. I didn't know it would get this far. Your mother, she was never meant to have a life like this. He pointed to the rusty file cabinets hidden behind layers of dust, their presence looming ominously. What do you mean? Rachel asked, dread pooling. What are you talking about? Mark stepped closer, voice lowered. They're a cult. They will stop at nothing to acquire the knowledge your mother kept hidden. She knew things that could turn them into a raging force. How do you know this? Alan challenged, eyes squinting toward Mark. The atmosphere tightened as the past collided violently with the present. I was in deep, trying to keep tabs on the family. I feared for you. Mark's weary eyes told a story of battles fought in the shadows, bloodlines tainted with secrets. But I failed. I lost track of her warnings, and I couldn't protect any of you. It's too late for that. Rachel shot out, anguish spilling through her voice. We need to know how to stop them, please. Just then, the lights above flickered again, illuminating wisps of movement in the corners, a steady reminder that they weren't alone. Marcus' face went pale. They're closer than you think. We need to go back. We need to find the files she hid. They hold everything. But Alan began, defiance rising in his voice. We don't have time. They'll find us here. Mark interrupted, urgency wrapping around his words like a vice. We can fend them off, but we have to work together. For Lily. We can't let them take this family too. Rachel's heart twisted painfully at the weight. She could feel time rushing forward. Their lives were in peril, linked by blood and secrets that cut deeper than flesh. Where do we go? She looked into her uncle's haunted eyes. There was a flicker of hope amid the storm. Follow me, Mark urged, already moving toward a dim corridor leading further into the lodge. Alan took Rachel's arm, steadying her as the shadows danced ominously around them. They approached the hidden passage, and as they moved deeper into the darkness, Rachel felt a surge of determination rise within her. They would confront the shadow that threatened to consume them. Together, they would unearth their mother's secrets, reclaim their family from the darkness that had haunted them for far too long. And as they stepped into the unknown, Rachel vowed to protect her family, to face the chaos swirling around them, ready to fight for the light they all deserved.